When the world needed him most. Wait, that's not right. When the world begged him to stay away, he returned. The writer we deserve for our troubled times, but not as salvation, as punishment. The man who treads the line between author and terrorist. The writer who puts the black in black comedy. The incomparable, ingenious, inscrutable, international best-selling author, Quan Millz. I talked about this guy in a previous video, but here's a brief rundown. A former proposal writer turned self-published author of urban fiction, Quan Millz, real name Colby Durden, gained fast online notoriety for his ridiculous covers and unhinged plot summaries. Despite the numerous controversies he's garnered, Millz is credited with exposing urban fiction to wider audiences, and he encourages readers from all backgrounds to consume and laugh at his work. Arguably his most popular title, This Hoe Got Roaches in Her Crib, has been immortalized in countless reviews, reaction videos, and dramatic readings, and is even getting a fucking Tubi adaptation.
It's official. I'm turning This Hoe Got Roaches in Her Crib into a Tubi movie.
Actually, I'm surprised this didn't happen sooner. But another of his titles comes in at a close second. If you've seen This Hoe Got Roaches in Her Crib even in passing, chances are you've also seen THOT Next Door. What else is there to say? It's about an old thought who lives next door. Specifically, Vernita Ernestine Washington, a 76-year-old woman who doesn't care what you think about her ways, and decides to spend her remaining time on Earth being the biggest old super freak. Honestly, I respect the hustle. Have you seen X? Old people need love too, although I could have done without the description of the tasty honeycomb between her legs. Now, usually this is the part where I show off my copy of the book. Well, this time it deserves special recognition. For when the package arrived on my doorstep, I opened it, pulled out the book, and this is how it was presented to me. Normally I'd be pissed at Amazon for defacing my book, but somehow I feel this is the only way to read a Quan Millz book. Like, the only thing worthy of delivering such a ratchet-ass story is a ratchet-ass book. The disregard for writing conventions extends to the structural integrity of the book itself. So without further ado, let's see what Quan Millz inflicted on us this time. This is THOT Next Door. Firstly, I have to address an error I made in my previous Quan Millz video. Turns out it's actually correct to write the word thought in all caps, as the word itself is an acronym. I thought it was just the author pouring all his indignation and disgust into the word each time he typed it. But you know what? My interpretation's funnier, so suck it. Oh, good lord. Once again, Quan Millz does not miss on the cover art. Rembrandt could never. Admittedly, there's not as much going on as This Hoe Got Roaches in Her Crib, but there's still plenty to discuss. For instance, the two dudes in the back. This guy looks like he was trying to pull off sexy but gave up halfway through, so he kinda settled with comatose blue steel. Meanwhile, this guy looks like he'd rather be anywhere else but here, but he's suffering through it because his mom says she'd buy him an ice cream afterward. And oh my god, this is so clearly an older woman's head photoshopped onto a younger woman's body. Look how the skin tone just radically departs when it hits the collarbone. I like to think that the old lady who posed for the original stock photo never imagined her face would be used in such a way. I'm not sure if she'd have a stroke upon seeing the cover or feel empowered and jump out of bed like Grandpa Joe to pork half the city. Speaking of which, I should note my copy also arrived with a suspicious stain very near the lady's face. I'm hoping it's just glue. Dear readers, while I consider this book to be a ratchet soap opera thriller, there are many elements of comedy in this book. What? No. You're kidding me, Quan Millz. With a cover like that? I was expecting something dignified and grounded. Now you're telling me this ratchet soap opera thriller has unserious elements in it? I don't even know you, but I feel I've been betrayed by a friend. Now, I've read Cormac McCarthy, Ian McEwan, Yann Martel, Stephen King, masters of the written word, supposedly. They're hacks. Try as they might, as they scream from mountaintops or beyond the grave or whatever plane of existence they inhabit, they could never, in their wildest dreams, concoct an opening passage as sublime as this. Baby, let me tell you one motherfucking thing. I don't give a damn what you think about me and my age. Yeah, I might be 76 years old, but this big thick pussy between my toned brown legs don't act like it. There is no more literature. There is only Quan Millz. We are in for it, folks. Hope you brought cigarettes. So yeah, the story. Vernita Washington is an old widow who just loves to get laid. Like, whenever this broad looks at anything with a Y chromosome, typhoon season arrives in her panties and all she can think about is riding that pole. It's actually kind of fascinating. This lady will go through a paragraph-long crisis every time she sees a mildly attractive man. How her brain has not developed a hardened plaque barrier against excess dopamine, I'm sure I don't know. Amid her excessive cravings, she discovers that she's developed a brain tumor that might kill her in a year or two. So she vows to spend her remaining time acquiring as much dick as humanly possible. However, the skeletons in her closet soon begin to chatter, and Vernita finds herself entangled in a wild conspiracy of sex, betrayal, and murder. The first thing you'll notice about this book is that it's written in first-person central POV. This is significant, especially compared to This Hoe Got Roaches in Her Crib, because of how it affects the narrative voice, and by extension, the reader experience. 80% of the story is told through Vernita's perspective, who is an untamed, sex-addicted ratchet hoe. Therefore, everything you read is told through the lens of an untamed, sex-addicted ratchet hoe. By contrast, Roaches was written in third-person omniscient, with fourth wall breaks and exposition dumps that seem to fall from the sky like manna from heaven. So rather than a crazy old lady, the narrator is like some all-powerful deity overlooking the Chicago skyline. And while Old Thought Next Door's narration is still unhinged, it's not uniquely unhinged. There's less literary transgressions, less out-of-pocket observations, and in general, less absurdity because the voice is limited to one limited person. It may sound like I'm giving Old Thought Next Door more analysis than it deserves, but I've said it before. Quan Millz is not an idiot. He knows exactly what he's doing. Roaches was an insane book that broke so many rules and read like nothing I've ever seen before because the narrative voice allowed for that experimentation. So by comparison, Old Thought Next Door felt like a more conventional and therefore less special read. But that's still not saying much. I can only describe this book as the ghetto love child between Alfred Hitchcock and John Waters. Vernita Washington is introduced explaining how she still commands a vigorous sex drive at 76. My number one secret to living a long, happy, healthy life was making sure you surround yourself with young folks, between the ages of 20 and 30. Riding some young dick is truly what regulates my blood pressure and keeps my cholesterol down. Doctors hate her. This ordinary household object is the key to health and longevity. No more hemorrhoids or shingles or dental cream-induced toxic shock. One go around with this simple insert, and your fountain of youth will flow like the River Nile. Approximately 32% of the text is dedicated to lurid first-person depictions of Vernita's nether regions. My sugar walls tightened around that dick. Gonna bust up all these fibroids I had on my uterus. My pearl was thumping in my panties, and if I didn't control myself, my juices were gonna freeze up in the cold. I bought this outfit a little extra tight because I wanted this blank to see this fat cat of mine. Once again, there are certain words I can't say because I fall short of the minimum melanin requirement. I can only imagine Quan Millz standing at a blackboard formulating all the different ways he can describe the female reproductive system. He really puts the Smith in wordsmith, if you know what I mean. In one scene, Vernita's dancing with a man and he orally transmits an ecstasy pill into her mouth and she just swallows it willingly? What? They say don't judge an author by his characters, but that line might be blurred with Quan Millz. How do I have this character trip on ecstasy in a way that makes sense? Let me consult the old noggin. Nope, nothing. I'll just have her fucking eat it. Stupid bitch. As Vernita embarks on her sexcapades, a combination of her encroaching brain tumor and overdosing on Mirapex causes her to hallucinate. And I mean fully blown passages of this book that never happen. Like, dreams that walk outside of sleep kind of nonsense. Like the scene where she imagines she's sitting on a dude's face and he tells her to pee in his mouth, but in reality she's just urinating on a gym floor. The real pissgate is whatever the fuck's happening in a Quan Millz book. Vernita hallucinates pushing her friend Alice down the stairs when they both reveal they doinked each other's husbands, but it turns out she was actually pushed down the stairs by, quote, a young thug that broke into her house, until Vernita gets a phone call from Alice's daughter Sharday that Alice has actually been dead for 5 years, even though we saw her intubated in the hospital. But it turns out that was bullshit too, because Vernita actually hired the young thug to go into Alice's house and kill her. There's plot twists, and then there's stupid. This is stupid. Hallucinations are perfectly fine and acceptable narrative elements, but when they're used to lead readers down these insane rabbit holes and then just spit them back out, they become manufactured tension. Cheap and lazy disguised as clever. Like, is the whole story just Vernita Washington's coma-induced nightmare? Because that's how I feel reading this book. And the more the story progresses, the more you begin to notice the good old-fashioned Quan Millz isms. You get the classics like dumb spelling errors, misused words such as confusing the word maniac with manic multiple times. And no, Quan, when a woman's husband dies, she does not become a window. There is an extremely unfortunate typo where Vernita is referred to as an 8-year-old instead of an 80-year-old in the context of police investigators recounting how she got carnally assaulted by an old man. Quan, I get proofreading isn't your strength, but you gotta at least make sure your audience doesn't feel like perverts reading your shit, man. Names are once again spelled wrong or just flat out misremembered. A Brianna becomes a Natasha 30 pages later, unless that too was a hallucination. There's also a fair number of references to real-world people and places. Shamar Moore, Tamala Mann, misspelled as Tamala. There's a guy compared to Terrence Howard whose name is Terry, a woman who's described as Venus Williams, but slimmer. Quan, what is wrong with you? Another woman is likened to Vanessa Williams, only Vanessa had money and this bitch was broke as shit. What the fuck? Quan also references an actual LA Fitness on 47th Street in Chicago, and this particular LA Fitness is where the aforementioned pissing scene takes place. Does Quan Millz go to this particular LA Fitness? Do you think they're proud that they were portrayed by an international best-selling author as ground zero for Vernita's urination situation? I go to LA Fitness for the sense of community. I go to LA Fitness for the wonderful amenities at affordable rates. I go because an old lady pissed in one in a Quan Millz book. And one thing I only noticed because I've read 2 Quan Millz books already were the constant references to the cognac brand Hennessy. I can only assume it's Quan Millz' breakfast of choice. I've actually never had Hennessy before, so in the interest of authenticity for this review, I thought I'd try a first-time blind taste test. I'm kind of getting hints of butane. Bottoms up. I can see why Quan Millz writes the way he does. And of course, you can't have a Quan Millz book without a barrage of unhinged one-liners. I want that first post-release nut. I had to rush my sexy ass back home. All the steppers in the club were stepping their old asses off. Them Mexicans will be up to 3 a.m. in the morning drinking Coronas and fucking up piñatas. A bomb of farting went off. It was so crazy to see how easy it was to use a piece of jewelry to distract a woman's mind. Meow! By the way, the character who says meow is a fat, angry white woman, which is the most racial representation I get from this book. So, thank you, Quan. Now I feel seen. So near the end of the story, it's revealed that Vernita is a femme fatale noir who kills or puts hits on people based on how entangled they get in her affairs. They introduce a second narrator, a homicide detective named Mike Colvin, who has a very particular relationship with his career. Every aspect of a homicide investigation was a fucking orgasm to me. Oh yeah, I love my job. I come into work early and really put myself into it. Quan Millz is a fool. He's investigating Vernita's killing spree, but he gets fired for misusing police resources, so he ends up working at a whack-ass hipster vegan barbecue restaurant. So Mike tries blackmailing Vernita, who at this point in the story is faking dementia, into giving him money, but she ends up shooting him after sleeping with him because what the hell did you expect? And she gets off scot-free because no one believes that an old-ass bitch like her is capable of doing such a thing. But then, in the last sentence of the last page of the book, as she's reveling how she got away with murder and fooled everyone into thinking she had dementia, she actually gets dementia. And the book ends. I want to believe this is symbolic of Quan Millz forgetting to write an appropriate ending for the book, so he just worked it into the story. Because if it's not, then it would just be incredibly dumb. And that would be awful. So that was Old Thought Next Door. While not as shocking as This Hoe Got Roaches in Her Crib, and though it took a while for the trademark insanity to go full throttle, it's still through and through a Quan Millz book. Ratchet-ass book. Remember, you're not gonna find high art in one of these things. What you will find is unfettered craziness from a free-spirited author who doesn't care about writing conventions or whom he offends. And I love him for it. However, some of the issues were just too glaring to overlook. Remember that Quan Millz spends as little as a few days or a few weeks writing these books, and it shows in a general lack of refinement. In this book's case, its biggest flaw is the unfocused mishmash of plot twists and hallucinations that suggests Quan just threw shit at the wall to see what stuck, which, despite his comedic talent, suggests he comes up short in skill and foresight. I understand this isn't exactly a hard-boiled cerebral murder mystery, but that doesn't mean it didn't annoy me. But if you find that unrefined ghetto-ass writing style amusing, and if you aren't offended by racially charged language and humor, then you're gonna have a good time with Old Thought Next Door. Let me know if you want me to read a third Quan Millz book for this channel. And if you do, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss it. But until then, I'll see you all next time.